Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from today. Welcome to the Agentic Revenue Engine. We're talking about unifying self-service buying, fulfillment, and billing today. I'm Claire Pankhurst, Head of Marketing and Partnerships at PhiX Technologies, and we're here because enterprises are asking a fundamental question right now. Where do we actually deploy AI agents to drive measurable business impact? What operations keeps coming up as the answer, and today you're going to see why. We've got two incredible experts joining us who are going to demonstrate and discuss what autonomous revenue operations actually looks like when agents operate on a connected platform. So before we dive in, let me pass over to our special guests to introduce themselves. David, do you want to kick us off?
Happy to. Thank you, Claire. Great to meet everyone on the call today. My name is David Beebe, Head of Revenue Solutions here at Salesforce. And that title, basically what I actually do is I'm in our product management organization and specifically in the Chief Customer Officer part of the business. And so I meet with prospects and customers every day to advocate on their behalf, listen to the things that they want to see Agentforce Revenue Management doing to transform their business and connect back to the product team and the engineering team internally in order to make those things happen. I've been here at Salesforce for about just past 9 years last week, and I have focused on Revenue Cloud the entire time. So I've seen a lot of changes, and I look forward to hopefully bringing some of that perspective to you today.
Thank you. Passing over to Tunde.
Thanks very much, Claire. Hi, everyone. Tunde Mosaku. I'm Chief Strategy Officer here at PhiX, also a Salesforce CTA. I have been in and around the Salesforce ecosystem for 15 years. Had the distinct pleasure of being a customer, a consultant, worked at Salesforce, the company, and I'm back here at PhiX helping grow out the revenue management solutions that we deliver for our customers. Look forward to the conversation today.
Fantastic. Thank you both. So let's walk through the agenda, what we're going to be covering over the next hour. So first, we're going to set the context. David, you're going to kick us off with a walkthrough of where revenue friction comes in and where we're headed with the agentic enterprise. Second, we'll have the unified revenue engine in action from Tunde. He's going to demonstrate 3 agents working on the same platform, all operating on shared intelligence with zero integration. And then we're going to connect all of that to some business outcomes, why it matters and what to measure to prove that impact. And finally, we're going to open up for a live Q&A. So we've got some questions teed up, but we want to hear from you. So what are you wrestling with? What do you want to understand better about deploying agents in your revenue operations? So you've got the Q&A option there to drop your questions into, or the chat function is available too. Oh, and before we finish up on we've also got how you can get your personalized agent readiness assessment for your organization. So do stay till the end and you can find out more about that. Sounds good? I will pass over to you, David, for the forward-looking statement. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. Everyone's favorite slide as part of a presentation including Salesforce. Please make your purchasing decision based on generally available software that we have in the market. So let's dive into a couple of slides here. I've prepared some content specifically for this presentation that I think is really going to align with what we're going to see from our friends at PhiX later on in this call. And based on what I've been hearing a lot, like I mentioned, I'm in the Chief Customer Officer organization. And so I spend most of my days talking to customers, listening, and trying to, again, take what they're wrestling with and turn that into business value. So the focus for today will be on the agentic enterprise. Right, so 25 years ago, when Salesforce was launched, we launched the Customer 360 with the goal of putting your customers at the center of everything. Hopefully, we've succeeded in doing that. And now with the incredible ascension of AI as part of not only life, but also work, we're seeing how that can help transform the way we work and build relationships. But before we dive directly into Agentforce and AI, let me take you a step back and cover what we see as the opportunity in the market and really what we've created Agentforce Revenue Management to do. So over this 25 years, it's become clear that revenue, it's not just the number on a dashboard, it's a whole process. It's a living and connected series of actions, decisions, and touch points between every team, whether it's IT, sales, of course, finance, operations, Everybody plays a role, and a very important role. So when the process breaks down, everybody feels the pain. And that's why getting it right, it's not just a sales priority, it's an imperative of the business. It's critical. And so because it impacts your growth, it impacts your customers, it impacts you, ultimately your shareholders in some cases. So the truth of the matter is revenue has changed over the last couple of years. It used to be relatively simple. You build a product or a service, you give it a price, you maybe get approvals, depending on what kind of sales rep you might be, and then you close the deal. And for some businesses, it does still work today, of course, but your customer base is changing. So your customers' models, their expectations in terms of transparency are changing and evolving really quickly, right? So again, they want transparency, flexibility, and preferably a seamless experience across every channel throughout their entire life cycle with your business. So even if the process you have today feels like it might be steady, your customers likely are already moving and seeking new opportunities. So new models, new channels, shifting preferences, redefining what good looks like. They're not just one-time things anymore, one-time events. They are living, ongoing relationships. Something we talk about all the time is the full value of a lifelong customer. The old tools really weren't built for this, so it's hard for them to keep up with the speed, scale, and complexity of revenue today. But truly, here's the real problem. Revenue is the one process, I mentioned this earlier, it touches every part of your organization, and it should unite your teams and your stakeholders, but instead, it can be the cause of quite a bit of friction. Disconnected systems, spreadsheets, siloed tools. It slows the whole process down and leads to lowered customer satisfaction. So we here at Salesforce, we call this the messy middle. It's the place where your revenue lifecycle gets bogged down by manual effort and risks and delays. So that's why the time is now to transform your revenue management processes with your customer at the center. Because again, they expect flexibility in pricing. We mentioned this earlier, transparency in buying, and a frictionless experience. So thinking through how do you sell? What do you sell? How do you monetize? And how do you go to market? What I love about the revenue process is there's such simplicity in the fact that every company we work with sells something. That's why you're in the market, right? To sell, to deliver, and to grow. And revenue is at the heart of all of that. But it does require a platform that connects the full life cycle of revenue across every channel, not just direct sales, but every channel, and brings AI and intelligence really into every single decision and every touch point that you and your customers have. So that gives you an explanation of kind of what we were seeing in the market and what we're trying to address with Agentforce Revenue Management. But what actually is the product? That's the future of what we're here to discuss today. So we're helping customers eliminate that messy middle. Hopefully you remember that after our call today with a complete intelligent revenue platform. So with Agentforce Revenue Management, think about all those teams that I mentioned: operations, IT, sales, finance. They're all working from the same connected platform. So whether you're bringing products or services, you're bringing pricing, and you're bringing all of that to the market faster and more efficiently and more productively. You're selling through any channel or any model, whether it's one-time, subscription, evergreen, usage and consumption, and you're gaining total visibility into your revenue data. And it's all in Salesforce. So this is a snapshot of what Agentforce Revenue Management really is, right? So the reason that selling anywhere on any channel is possible is because this is API first and composable. What that means in more layman's terms is you can plug in every revenue process you have right here, whether it's quoting, whether it's contracts, orders, billing. You can plug all of that here into Agentforce Revenue Management, right? So a partner portal, a direct sales in your CRM, a digital storefront. When we say API first, what we mean is business process APIs built specifically for your revenue processes that your business runs every single day. It also means that you can power your entire revenue process with, we're going to see a lot of this today, AI agents, bringing intelligence and automation into every step from quote through to cash. So where do agents come in to the Agentforce Revenue Management story? Think about this as the ultimate agent-based platform to transform how your company makes money. Now, the main focus is to increase productivity, boost revenue, and make sure your financials are absolutely spot on. Instead of sellers doing the heavy lift, AI agents become their teammates. The agents can find and maximize deals, handle compliance and controls, and automate everything from quoting to billing to contract execution. So in a nutshell, I love this phrase. It's our philosophy. Agents automate, humans lead, and revenue flows. It's about supercharging the organization with an intelligent copilot. So very excited to announce that we have a ton of agents that are already GA in the market. Now, I'm not going to spend time talking about all 6 of the ones that we see here on the screen, but I do want to zero in on a few that I'm particularly excited about. Of course, everybody loves Agentic Quoting, right? It allows your team to conversationally configure a deal and get the price, and even on some very complex quotes. But I'll tell you, one of the ones that actually gets me the most excited is the Agentic Catalog. What we hear all the time with how with Agentforce can we reduce costs? How can we boost productivity? It's things like that. It's the back end processes where you really see that get supercharged with Agentforce. Again, quoting is awesome. Agentic consumption is awesome, but I get really excited about the behind the scenes stuff. We're going to see a little bit of that today. Now, my next 2 slides, and I think I may have 2 or 3 more slides, but we recently went through a big process with our research and insights team here at Salesforce. And this information is really hot off the press. And I'm really excited to share it with you. I literally just got some of these details this week. So let me set the tone for you here. About 2 months ago, we did a customer advisory board where we had about 12 customers in the room with us and went through a listening session to understand what are the things that they are struggling with, how are they using the product, how do they want to use the product, what are some of the barriers, and what are some of the growth levers. And so these next 2 slides really highlight exactly what some of those are. Based on our research and insights, on the left-hand side, the main focus is to drive growth. And on the growth side, it's about speed and revenue capture. We're talking about increasing deal velocity, closing deals faster. And we also want to dramatically improve the seller productivity, empowering your sales teams and everybody else that's involved to high value selling instead of a bunch of admin work. And then finally, we deliver revenue uplift, helping you to capture revenue through smart upsell, cross-sell, and most importantly, price compliance. But on the flip side, not just driving revenue, but also cost reduction. So Agentforce is designed to reduce the operational inefficiency by minimizing manual technical overhead in the end-to-end process. It helps to minimize risk, which is critical, of course, in your revenue process, by decreasing the costs associated with compliance failures, and critically plugs the hole in the revenue leakage bucket, reducing losses from things like billing disputes, product returns, and manual errors. So in short, hopefully what this is showing you is Agentforce is built to be a dual engine for your business, accelerating the top line, but also tightening the bottom line. So one last slide here, and this is coming from voice of the customer. I found this to be particularly interesting because when we did our customer advisory board about 8 months ago, the one prior to the one in December, a lot of the feedback was on roadmap, what's coming, what features are you going to have, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, we still talk about features, roadmap, and what's coming. But this time around, 2 months ago, it was less about the features and it was more about ascertaining value, deal management, and how to utilize Agentforce Revenue Management better, essentially. So we saw the value breaking down into 2 common themes. First, on the left is business value. Customers want Agentforce Revenue Management to be the definitive source of truth for deals and contracts. They're looking for an end-to-end solution from the very start of a deal all the way through to RevRec to drive accuracy, again, reduce compliance failures, and eliminate revenue leakage. And they want the platform to be easy to use and accelerate deal velocity and let the teams prioritize customer relationships over manual processes. Then on the right-hand side, we got more into the agentic future. So customers are actively looking for agents in the highest friction points of their cycle. For example, a deal desk agent to use the system's data to orchestrate complex workflows like upsells, approvals, and everything that goes in that process. They wanted an admin agent as a key way to reduce cost and complexity of things like implementation and config and ongoing configuration and usage. And finally, they want a dedicated contract agent to automate high friction legal processes and make sure that the terms and conditions are perfectly linked to downstream records. Essentially, our customers are confirming that agents are the way of the future and will unlock the next level of efficiency and accuracy, but it's always got to focus on compliance, controls, reducing cost, and increasing business value. So hopefully that little bit of insight from our session about 2 months ago was really compelling for you. Hopefully you're seeing that a lot of the things that you're thinking about, our customers are thinking about, and we're building product to address many of those items moving forward. Sorry, Claire, I think I took maybe 1 or 2 minutes longer than I was supposed to, but I get really excited about that stuff. And so I did want to share my perspective. So from this point forward, I think we move on to the really exciting part of the presentation. Take it away, Tunde.
Thanks very much, David. That was great. It's always nice hearing you speak because your perspective is insightful. Thank you for that.
Of course.
So now we're going to step into the seeing some of the stuff that Dave's been talking about, talking around Agentforce Revenue Management. I was asked the question, why name a product? Why add Agentforce in front of it? It had a great name before it started, but there's a reason, because it has out-of-the-box agents that come out and allow customers to be able to do things where agents and humans operate together across revenue operations. So the focus of the demo is looking at the agentic catalog, supporting product description generation, agentic quoting, which we all know and love, and maybe amendments, and then something else around agentic billing, where the support team are having a kind of difficulty answering customer questions around why have I been charged X or Y or Z on my invoice. That billing support, ensuring that you're not swivel chairing, going over different systems to figure out like how to answer a customer's question. And then a special one, like a bonus, we'll start with analytics, just because that's one of my favorite topics. All right. Without further ado, I'll do a screen share. Excellent. So you should see my screen.
Yep, good to go.
Excellent. So here we start in Salesforce. We're looking today at a fictitious organization called Quantec. They sell AI products, servers, a bit of software support, hardware installation, and then they sell some usage as well across their product line. The customer that we're focused on today is Brad Lightcap, a great name. And we're going to be serving Brad and Demo AI today, leveraging Agentforce Revenue Management. So where do we start? We start in this world of what we're doing today, where revenue teams are facing pressures around from every direction, shorter sales cycle, complex pricing, frequent changes, higher customer expectations all across the sales cycle. Traditional automation helps, but it still requires humans to drive every step. So here we're just shedding a light today at how the agentic kind of revenue engine is able to help improve the experience of the end users internally, ultimately serving the customers in a better way. So the first thing we look at over here is a set of Tableau Next dashboards, revenue intelligence apps that ship with Agentforce Revenue Management. And they go through 4 or 5 different kind of steps. Look at your billing, your subscriptions, other analytics, and your pricing. We're not spending too much time today on the actual analytics. It shows you things around your current revenue, current cost, current margin, that margin percentage, breaking your revenue by cost, by margin, by percentage, by country, by industry. So all of that insight is there available for you to see. What you would see is for each of these kind of giant metrics as you see them, there is some intelligence at the bottom of it, where Agentforce has gone off on a run and create some intelligence and telling us a bit more around the metric we're looking at. So saying the current revenue for 2026 was this, it's an increase compared to X. Top contributors are these customers, and this is how much they got. We didn't just get a metric, we got a metric plus the customers that are contributing to that increase in current revenue. We got an insight into who those top customers are, what percentages they're getting, and that's all at the click of a button. You don't need to do anything beyond. What you can then do is, if I kind of move over here, you would see that we have several agents on this org. The first one that we're going to be showcasing today is one around analytics and visualization, where I can go ahead and interrogate a bit more what I'm seeing. So if I wanted to know, for example, which products contributed to revenue most, I can go ahead and interrogate and ask Agentforce to go have a look, and it would have a look through my data, have a look through the insights that are already generated, is doing some analysis, and then it will provide some information based on what I've asked it. So here I've asked it which products have contributed to revenue the most. I can also see that information if I kind of scroll further down. I would see the product distribution by revenue, customer distribution by revenue, and then here it tells you, it kind of gives you a bit more information around which of those products. So that is the one. When I move forward, I then step away from that persona. So I've just gotten insight into my business. I'm a chief financial officer, etc. I have a new persona. This is my Agentforce agent, my catalog agent. And the catalog agent is doing a few things. One of them is generating product descriptions. So I start here on my view as a product catalog manager for Quantec, and I see that I have more than 50 items that don't have a description. In this way, we can't self-serve to our customers in a nice way. So customers only see the name of the product, and the other thing they see is they see a product code. So they have to figure out like what this thing means based on what it says. There's no description. And I want to use Agentforce. I want to leverage Agentforce to go off and generate a description for me. I'll be looking at the Quantum Pro R1U100 server, which you'd see over here and doesn't have a description right now. It's also set out here. So you can see a bit more about the particular product. It's got code. It tells you what it's based on with some attributes. What you would also see is the selling options that are for that particular product that are also here. So I can go off and ask Agentforce for me, using all the attributes and all the data that is existing on this particular product. I can say, generate a description for this product. It's giving me a recommendation. So here you see just taking on from the attributes that I had and the information that we have from the product name, I have a description that's been generated telling me the Quantum Pro server is engineered to deliver reliable performance for demanding applications. It tells me about its efficiency, it tells me what it does, who it's ideal for. It's ideal for data centers and IT environments. It's got advanced architecture because it's a pro server, supports seamless needs, it's durable. And there are a few more things around optimization. So you can optimize your infrastructure with this. So there's a bit of a selling bit in there. So all of a sudden, as a catalog manager, I have something to start with. I'm not starting from scratch. I can refine this if I wanted to. I can talk about if I wanted to. I can say thumbs up or thumbs down if I liked it or if I didn't like it. I can refine it if I wanted to. But if I'm happy with what is generated, I can then say update the description with the below text. So that way I can ask it to do the upload. What you'd see here is that combination of human being at the helm, understanding what's been done. So he asked me the question, what do I like to do? Would I like to approve and update this text, making sure that I get confirmation from a human. So the agent is not going rogue and doing things of its own accord. If I want to, I can cancel it and say, oh, I don't want to do that now. I can edit the full record if I need to, or I can confirm. When I confirm, it gives me an indication that the description has been updated successfully, and you'd see straight away over here that it's been applied to the particular product. And this saves the catalog manager time, and they're able to provide that information. So if I step away from the catalog manager persona now, and then I step into kind of my next world or my next tab where I'm now sat in the place of the salesperson. So I'm in sales and I've been asking for this Quantum Pro server description for a while just so I can get it. And once I get it, I can put it onto my customers to quote. I can make sure that on my quote documents there's a description of what we're selling, so I don't need to go off and explain to the customer anymore. Or it could be available from a self-serve perspective for the particular customer. As a salesperson, I'm serving demo AI today, and I want to sell them some parts of the demo server. So I can say, create a quote for the Quantum Pro server devices at a 10% discount. And that's the quoting agent. So again, it's conversational in the way that we're describing or talking to the agent. This is saving clicks from a salesperson's perspective. So you're talking to the customer and you're generating the quote, you're generating the information that's required. And then the agent is in the background going off and finding, it would ask questions. So is it a new opportunity? Is it an opportunity that exists already? Because now it's found that there are several opportunities against a particular account. I can pick and choose the specific one that I want. So here I want to go for the new opportunity for demo AI opportunity. And this is the human and the agent interacting in creating the quote specifically. Again, it has multiple products. I can pick and choose the right one that I want. So if you have all of those within your catalog, you would see that you are able to move and progress as fast as possible through the process. And here I can open the opportunity just in anticipation of that quote being created. So now I get the confirmation that the quote's been created with the product and the discount applied. I can then go off and look at the, if I have to, yep, can go off and look at the quote, and the quote now has 100 pieces of this Quantum Pro server. The adjustment type is 10%. If I wanted to see the discount, I can then see that I applied a 10% discount to this particular quote. So here is my agent, my quoting agent, that's helping the salesperson move faster, be able to close deals faster, and move on to the next thing. So once I'm happy with that, I can just accept, approve, create my order, and then I'm good to go from a salesperson's perspective. So all of that you see and have, that is a different persona, if you will. So that's another persona that's been supported by an out-of-the-box agent, the quoting agent on Agentforce Revenue Management. Now that the quote's being generated or created, Brad's also is we do a lot of self-serve for our customers. So we want the customers to see what's happening on their accounts, to see what they're buying, what they're selling. And we can go off and log in as Brad onto our experience site. And then we would see the experience that the customer has. So here you'd see that for the same things that I've just been working on from an internal perspective, the customer is able to view and see what's being generated on their behalf. So these have been generated on behalf of the customer, the sales rep. Here are the orders that have been placed on behalf of the customer with some rates. Here are the invoices being generated for that customer. And then at this point, Brad's kind of asking the question, ooh, I don't understand this invoice 761. I'm going to look at the details. So it just tells me, if you have a look at this, it just kind of gives me some code. It gives me the name of the product and then a number. So I don't understand. I don't see why I've been charged. Why have I been charged this? What does this mean? I can go off and have a look at what the breakdown is for the particular product. Brad's going to raise a case, or he calls into Quantec and he has a question. And the question is, on invoice number 761, why have I been charged? As in, what's the breakdown of these particular invoice lines? So that's Brad externally. Imagine that. So internally, as a salesperson, as a kind of billing support operative, I can have a look at this particular invoice. I've received the case from Brad's unhappy about something, or I need some explanation or some clarification. I can go ahead and click through each of these invoice lines and see, oh, it's got this number of API snapshots at this particular line item, and the quantity is 1 million. I can see transfers, I can see snapshots, I can see storage usage. So these are all consumption products that have come in on the back of an order that Brad's received in the past. And we've uploaded that usage into Agentforce Revenue Management, done the rating, and then the invoice has been generated. But he still has a question. How do we answer that question? As a billing support agent, I can literally go in and then pick up on my invoice explanation agent. And the invoice explanation agent can do a few things. So it can help me explain particular invoice lines. It can provide details for that invoice line, summarize invoice lines. So I'm interested particularly in, so on invoice, that's 1761. Let's bring out that. Explain the snapshot line. So here I'm leveraging Agentforce, the invoice explanation agent, and you can see straight away I've gotten a breakdown. So this would have taken me a few clicks to get through this information, but now I know that the anchor product for this particular invoice line is the Quantum Pro all-inclusive usage product. My line specifically is snapshot, and it tells you how much quantity was used for a particular period. So 700 for this period, and there's an overage snapshot of 200, and the net unit rate is 10 cents. So therefore the overage amount is 20. That way the customer understands why they've been charged, because they had some grants within their initial usage. But at this point, they've gone over the grant of 500 that they received, and therefore they're being charged an extra 10 cents for every other snapshot they leverage over. I can then, if I was speaking to Brad over the phone, or if I was kind of talking to him on chat, I can pass this back on chat. If we were doing email, I can ask, because we're still in Agentforce and it's still in the same, I can then ask for my kind of, generate an email to the customer with these details. And you'd see a kind of just a sample email. This is just now that we've looked at the data. So if you think about everything I've done from the start, I've had a look at the analytics, I've had a look at the quotes, I've had a look at the orders from a customer perspective. I've also stepped into this world of being able to use Agentforce to break down invoice lines. And it's now generated for me sample emails, dear customer name, I hope this finds you well, writing to do XYZ. I don't need to think anymore in terms of doing value add activity. I can then move on to the next customer quite quickly instead of figuring out how to break down or look at that information. So it tells you why they're being charged specifically. So your charge reflects the usage of additional 200 snapshots beyond your included opportunity. So Agentforce knows, or the invoice agent knows, that the snapshots were at a kind of a grant level of 500 for free within the initial subscription. And then the extras you can ask for as well. And I can also ask it for any more, as how about API calls? And you'd see that it will just do the same thing because it's still in context. It's asking around API calls element. Oops. Oh no, I've done that wrong. Across of the demo. Yep. Storage usage. So there you've seen like a Agentforce hallucination in real time, right? Answer a different question based on the instruction I gave it. So the prompts that we're kind of putting in there are also kind of quite critical and quite important to the way the agent operates. But here we can see now that there you have the same explanation for the storage usage. Again, how much overage quantity they have based on how much, again, so it's like a 500 per month for storage usage, but they've gone over that by 982. Therefore, they're charged at 5 cents and the overage amount is calculated. That kind of gives you that information as well. And there you have it in terms of the breakdown. If we summarized everything we've had a look at today, so we've seen an agent help out with analytics and understanding what your data is telling you. We've seen an agent help with quoting. We've seen a lens of a customer being able to view their invoices and view their information because they're all on one platform. And we've also seen an agent who's done the explanation of the invoice, supporting a billing support agent in serving a customer in the right way. Overall, you can see the kind of hand-to-hand, the same platform, same data, same lens. The agent has the concept of which customer it is, what grants they have, what permissions they have, what entitlements they get, what they've ordered, and you're able to serve your customer in a more connected, streamlined way. So you have that element of the connected customer where employees are more confident in serving the customers. Customers are happier dealing with your organization. And revenue, as they call it, is surely and truly a team sport. On that note, I will pass back to Claire. That's the end of the demo. Thank you very much.
Hey, I just wanted to pick up on some of the questions that have come in because they're relevant before we just look at some of the metrics. We've got here, can I extend the out-of-the-box agents to work with my business needs?
That's a yes. The out-of-the-box agents are a starting point and they're templates. What you'll find as you're going through the agents is there are topics and the topics are combined. For example, you saw that I did an invoice explanation and then I generated an email. So that's a combination of two topics or two actions within the agent. Agents can do call outs. If you have data in external systems, they can generate emails, generate data for fields, as we saw earlier as well. So all of it is extendable, yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
And if I could complement that response, agree wholeheartedly with everything that was just said. One of the things that I think you may recall back to one of the previous slides that I put together based on our research and insights, that things like Deal Desk Agent, as an example, is something highly desired. And it's exactly the type of way in which you can extend Agentforce to work with Agentforce Revenue Management. And maybe I'm a little biased on this topic, but I do think that the data that's created by Agentforce Revenue Management is probably your most mission critical data because it's about your revenue throughput, right? It's about your products, your pricing, your margins, your discounts, where, what geos or what areas or what product lines are doing well, which ones aren't. And then you can take that information and again, make sure you're wrapping in compliance and controls, approvals all throughout the process to truly automate the process, but remember humans and agents working together for revenue to flow, right? We're not talking in most instances a fully automated process, but rather one that complements the human that is, or the set of humans that are in the mix. Just wanted to augment the previous answer.
Brilliant. No, please do. And there's some more come in around the agent's actual use cases. Should we work through those and then we'll see what else comes in? Next up, we have, can the quoting agent do the ramping on a quote. So if I needed to ramp the products over a number of years and add a discount, is that possible to do on the quoting agent?
The out of the box one, no, but you can extend it to do that, yes. So you can do ramping, and you can also go do a bit more complex quotes, advanced quotes. Definitely, yes. Even consumption.
Very cool. David, anything to add there? We're good.
Think we're good. Yep. And we're always analyzing what we can put on the roadmap. And agentic ramping is definitely one of those items that we hear quite frequently.
Brilliant. And so as a customer, can I interact with an agent from the self-serve portal to ask questions?
Yes, you can. It was on the list of things to show, but we ran out of time. But yeah, so that same customer, I showed the experience where you could self-serve. If you had a look at the bottom, you'd have seen the agent there. It's like an amendment or renewal agent. So you could definitely do that. Whatever you expose to your customers, if it's chat for self-serve or the agent specifically, yes, you can.
And then finally was, why do I need so many agents? Can one agent not do everything?
You're in a great world, I think. There's all of the architecture. I'm a kind of architect in the world, and the conversations around agent to agent, multi-agent work. That's the world where I want one agent to pass on to the other. So yes, you can. It's all orchestration that you need to. What I wanted to showcase today was the fact that out of the box with Agentforce Revenue Management, there's already a lot there for us to leverage and appreciate and use within the flow of work. But when you get to the point of business processes, then the question is, how does your business work? And how should the agents then flow? We can arrange the topics in the right way such that you can then do multiple things with one agent. So I would imagine that customers are then doing things where, in the same way as you do for normal programs or projects, understand your process, the flow of work, and then we allow the agentic stuff to support your teams in the right way.
Brilliant. Okay. So that's some of those. And then we've also had some questions come in ahead of the webinar. David, what are you seeing as some of the barriers to entry for adopting agents in Agentforce Revenue Management? So the barriers to entry.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, good question. And one that was very much a topic of our advisory board that we had about 2 months ago. One of the things that I think that we find is that within the world of Agentforce Revenue Management, I don't know that it's all that different than Agentforce adoption across the rest of the customer 360. I think the reason that there may be additional perceived barriers to entry is because the quality of the data and the absolute need and requirement for your revenue data to be accurate and compliant, I think is one of those things where there's a perceived barrier of we want to make sure that a quote that gets sent out is penny perfect, right down to the last penny. We want to make sure an approval that gets done is based on our rules. It's grounded in what we would see as either being approved or rejected. And so I think that there's a kind of, again, the criticality of the data establishes a bit of a barrier because companies will say, oh, I don't know if I want an agent autonomously granting an approval, sending out a quote, doing those kinds of things before someone has really truly looked at it. That's one. The other two are related to just data quality in general. And again, this is not as much of an Agentforce revenue management issue. It's more about kind of your CRM as a whole. Agentforce, what do we always say? It's all about the data, right? It's only as smart as the information that you give it to train on. And so if your Salesforce is full of duplicate leads, outdated prices and products, then it's altogether possible that your agent will hallucinate, give wrong answers, but maybe sound very confident the whole time. And so there's a lot of customers that say, how clean does our data need to be? And then that can create a bit of an analysis paralysis. And the third is honestly, it's all about cost and ROI. One of the things that we hear frequently when it comes to agents specifically, not so much Agentforce Revenue Management, is it's great to say AI is the future and that's awesome, but how's it making me money today? I like where it's going. I like what it's going to do for us, but where's my ROI today? And on the other side of the coin of the ROI, there are some cost uncertainties. Agents run on credits, right? And so how many are we going to use? And what's the actual cost going to be to our business when we were running these autonomous agents. And so the good news is there are solutions to all of this, whether it's perception within the revenue process, whether it's a measurable ROI, whether it's the data quality within your CRM. But I think that those just thinking through barriers, that's what we hear a lot of. And again, all things that can be overcome, but certainly very real and very, very necessary items to consider.
Brilliant. Really good to hear. And on that note, we have had a question in, David, around can the agents help clean up existing data to identify and remove duplicate leads, contacts, etc. So is this one of the admin agents potentially?
Yeah, potentially. It definitely can. So we're not only seeing agents that are helping to clean up data, but also, as you can imagine, and we really haven't talked much about Salesforce CPQ, our previous solution, much on this call, but we have a lot of customers that are actually utilizing agents and working with groups like PhiX to use agents to transform and package up the data to actually make it ready for Agentforce Revenue Management. So the answer is absolutely yes. And like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the agentic capabilities that get me most excited are all the stuff that happened in the background. Love you too, Day. Like great presentation, but it's the background stuff that's helping to set up data and clean it and scrub it and transform it for moving forward. So yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Is it worth us just going back when you were talking about ROI metrics? I appreciate we skipped a slide ahead of that, which covered off some of the metrics which are worth noting for these agents. So, Tunde, did you want to just walk us through? This was some of the outcomes and the metrics that we were looking at that came out of using agents.
Yeah, though, so you can see the first one is speed to getting the money, because that's what I think revenue is all about, getting the cash in bank. So from the closing opportunity all the way to the first invoice, that element of having not your DSO number going down is an organization's massive measure. So having your invoices in hours, days, not weeks, definitely is a big one. Operational leverage. David touched on it, but we didn't talk so much about DRO today. But the element of being able to take one sales order and do all of the fulfillment stuff and visualize that and report on that and have agents try to track the entitlements or the pieces on that. That replaces that kind of human glue element. We've worked with customers where literally a person is the integration. That's what we get. We got, hey, this person is the integration, literally. Now DRO is available and that person can go do some more value add stuff. And that element of finance precision that David mentioned, penny perfect, ensuring that accuracy is accuracy by design from a billing perspective, ensuring that you're on the platform, you're driving that element of quote to invoice faster, agents are being able to complete their tasks quicker, you're being able to bring down your resolution rate for exceptions because you can answer questions faster, you're not swivel chairing, all the data is on one platform. The manual handoffs are reduced as much as possible, and disputes because there's clarity. So what you've quoted from a product perspective is also what's invoiced. So there's no mismatch for the customer. And I see my invoice and I have no idea what it looks like because it doesn't look like my order. All of that goes away because it's visible, it's transparent, and there's less questions. So you have that as well from an invoice dispute risk perspective.
Fantastic. And that was speaking to some of the points that you were making earlier, David, around what people are looking for from the customer. So it's great to see that this is being evident in the agents already. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think as usual, I think you've nailed it. The biggest thing that, we focus on with our customers and again with folks like our friends at PhiX is accuracy, compliance, controls, times. It's what I love about this space is it's very I just got done saying how agents can be hard to price out. Generally speaking, with when you're talking revenue throughput, it's pretty easy to quantify impact, easy to quantify return on investment, easy to quantify like DSO, like you were just mentioning, accuracy, because we can actually see things dropping, like change orders dropping, right? Or incorrect invoices or disputes that information starts to drop, the quantity goes down. And so I think that what I love about this space is the ability to see, to measure, to modify, all in the name of growth, of customer success, first and foremost, and then your business shortly after that.
Definitely. And getting that data ready. So if we're looking at data quality, data cleansing, to get prepared for onboarding agents. So I've got a question here. Where should I start? Which is always a good one. Tunde, did you want to pick up first? And then David, feel free to add.
So the way to start, I think it's almost like a segue into the next thing. It's an assessment. This is the first thing to have a look at. So we look through your business process and then what you want to focus on. The agents, magicians, you have to define the scope of the work that you want them to do. And then once you understand that, then you can go off and tackle. It's not dissimilar to what we do for traditional projects, where you start from the understanding the business process, the use case, where the pain points are, and then what the agent can actually help speed up, what the human would benefit from an agent on, and then what the human should pass into. So all of those things you'll have to do, looking at your current architecture, where agents deliver the kind of biggest impact. And then that foundation work is required kind of before activation. We kind of use a scorecard, pick out a few things around, are you ready with data? Are you ready with process? Are you ready with systems? How do you deal with change as an organization? All of those things kind of get us to a point where we're able to give you, if you did these three things in X number of months, that gives you this an uptick. And then foundationally, on the roadmap perspective, here's how you see you going from a 2, 3, 5 year perspective.
Fantastic. We've seen what's possible with agents on a connected platform. And for those of you that are evaluating Agentforce Revenue Management, or already, as you were saying, David, already using Revenue Cloud on the managed package, this is the 75-minute agent readiness assessment. And there's a QR code at the bottom. We can work with you and your teams. And so just wanted to highlight that. So thank you so much to everybody that's joined us. And thank you to our panel special guests, David and Tunde, for walking us through that. I think we've wrapped up there. We'll give people back a few more minutes of their day and we'll be in touch. If you have got any more questions, you can reach out to David Beebe at Salesforce. He's on LinkedIn. Tunde Mosaku at PhiX if you're happy for people to do. And we will share any other answers to your questions. But wishing you well. We hope to see lots of you in our agent readiness assessment and take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the PhiX team.
Thanks, David.